Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2018 crime drama thriller The Mule, a film that is directed by Clint Eastwood, stars Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper, Michael Pena, Alison Eastwood and Andy Garcia. And this is a film that is inspired by the true life events of a guy called Leo Sharp, who was a World War II veteran in his 80s, who became one of the most prolific drug mules on record. So this film is inspired by this story, and it tells the story of Clint Eastwood's character, who is called Earl, who is the said guy in his 80s, who's kind of messed up with his family. He's devoted to his gardening, and his love of his gardening has taken him all over the country, and he's got stickers all over his van that shows you where he's been in the country with his hobby. And he's then kind of out of the blue given the opportunity by some guy, gives him a card and says, oh, if you go to this place, if you deliver this stuff for somebody, they'll give you some money. And Clint Eastwood naively says okay. And then he starts doing that, and slowly realizes that what he's doing is delivering drugs across the country in his pickup truck. But he does it so successfully. The cartel rate him really highly as their top mule, if you like. And Bradley Cooper and Michael Pena come on board. They are from the DEA, and Lawrence Fishburne, who's their boss. Their job is to basically break up this cartel and stop this drug trafficking that's going on, and they want to stop this mule. They're well aware of this mule delivering all these drugs so successfully, and they want to track this mule down. However, there is a power struggle taking place within the cartel. The dynamics change, and Clint Eastwood's life becomes like basically in immediate danger. Right. Wow. What did I think of The Mule? Well, I did a trailer reaction for this, and I was quite excited, mainly to see Clint Eastwood on screen again. I mean, for me, he's my favourite actor of all time. I just adore him as an actor, as a legend, as a Hollywood icon. And Gran Torino was initially supposed to be his last film, but he came back since then and did that baseball film, and I can't remember, along with a curve or something like that. And he's come back to do this as well, which I was delighted. It's so great to see him in front of the camera as well as directing behind the camera, and he's perfectly cast in this part. For me, the best thing about this film is Clint Eastwood. He actually delivers a wonderful performance here. The kind of a Clint Eastwood performance you've never really seen that often. Vulnerable, quite comedic, quite light, quite bubbly, with a sense of humour. It is not the Clint you're used to. This is definitely not the grizzled Clint that we saw in Gran Torino. Don't be expecting that going into this, because this is not the Clint you're getting. It was quite jarring at points in this film to see Clint so vulnerable, because we're so used to him as Dirty Harry and all these grizzled, tough action characters. This ain't what you really get in this. You get a really vulnerable Clint, but it's actually, I think, one of his top performances. I think he does a brilliant job in this film. So the negatives of this film, well, there are quite a few, in a sense of the pacing's not brilliant, but be aware of what you're going to see here, guys. This is not an action flick. It's not going to spark your brain in regards to action. It's a slow-paced crime drama, basically. So the pacing didn't bother me, but it may bother some. Bradley Cooper's character, Michael Pena's character, I questioned why they needed to be in this film. The actors themselves, the parts could have been played by anyone. Literally anyone. They didn't stand out. They didn't do anything special or different. It was just Bradley Cooper and Michael Pena. And I'm a bit fed up of seeing Michael Pena playing the second fiddle, playing the co-star, the light humour, and the comedy sidekick almost. I'm sick of that, and he needs to change it up a bit now, Michael Pena. There's a couple of moments in the film littered with humour. There's a couple of scenes with humour that didn't work for me. It didn't seem right. For example, they pull over. The EA pull over like a truck they think might be the Mule, and it's not. It's just some Mexican guy, driving. And this Mexican guy is almost a comedic character, and he just didn't work for me. There's humour in here that some of it does work. The Clint Eastwood humour, he really rags on some of these Mexican like cartel guys. He basically calls them Hitler and all sorts now and again. He's funny at times, and that works because that's his character. But other attempts at humour in the film didn't really work for me. And the Michael Pena humour didn't really work for me. He was cracking one-liners here and there. It just felt cheap. I didn't like the fact that even when he was aware of what he was doing, Earl, Clint's character, he didn't really do anything about it. He didn't seem to bother his morals at all. You could understand initially his naivety, but when he actually figured out what he was delivering, it didn't seem to bother his morals at all, which I didn't like the way that was approached. But other than that, I thought I enjoyed this. It was well made, well directed, well acted. Clint's a joy, and it's an interesting story, definitely. And it does get very, very tense by the end, and I'm not going to spoil any of that. But it's a solid movie. It's great to see Clint on screen. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. I did enjoy it. I'm glad I saw it. And if you're a fan of Clint Eastwood, in front of the camera and behind the camera, you're in for a treat, I think. So I hope you enjoyed this review, guys, and I shall see you next time on Screen Stars.